Things kick off in a totally bizarre setting, with crows gliding through a sky choked by smoke and ruins. One of the birds viciously pecks at a chunk of meat tossed on the ground. The whole vibe gets super creepy real quick as the bird lifts a human eye in its beak. Soon enough, the place reveals itself to be a dining hall packed with folks taking a permanent nap, while the birds snack on the leftovers. Right in the middle of this mess, a barefoot person steps straight into a puddle of ketchup. Plasma. The MC gets pretty freaked out, wondering what in the heck is happening to his own body. Lifting his face, he takes in all the absolute wreckage of the scene around him. Frozen in the middle of the ruined path, he tries to wrap his head around whether he was the one who caused all this chaos. Full of anxiety, he asks himself how things managed to escalate to such an extreme level. Suddenly, a monster with massive wings pops up right behind him. Paralyzed, the kid is scared out of his wits by the unexpected jump scare. Thanks to that, he wakes up panting heavily in a lonely, stark white room. Reaching up to touch the collar around his neck, the boy realizes he just sat through his recurring nightmare for the umpteenth time. Right on cue, the intercom announces that the professor has dropped by for a visit with Esper number 1. Still groggy, he is told to get ready for an immediate interrogation. The door slides open, revealing the instructor, who immediately asks if the kid is awake yet. Walking beside him, the guy casually mentions their habit of permanently retiring potential risks right out of the gate. However, he claims to be a bit more understanding and asks for cooperation to prevent things from going sideways. Disoriented, the guy repeats the word superpower that the visitor just casually dropped. He questions the instructor about being locked up in this joint, under the excuse of being some massive threat. But the man assures him the analysis is spot on, and he actually has the juice to wipe the whole planet off the map. Making himself right at home, the instructor shares that he did some digging at the boy's old orphanage. The caretakers reported his quirky habit of wrapping himself in toilet paper, like a mummy just to get some alone time. On top of that, the kid was constantly sneaking off to the computer lab to geek out on video games. Staring intently at his captive, the guy wants to fact-check these little anecdotes. Pacing around the room, the instructor states that is the whole reason for his visit and asks if he is down to hear more. Exhausted, the MC asks to be let out so he can properly listen to these wild excuses. The man completely ignores the request and explains that the boy's gift is altering reality using video game mechanics. Apparently, this power spawns a step-by-step system to guide whoever wields it. Annoyed by the attitude, the kid asks if the guy is secretly an NPC, given how he is just monologuing like a robot. Letting out a sigh, the instructor notes the edgy teenage rebellion, wraps up the chat, and tells him to get some shut-eye. Right as the visitor turns to leave, the boy tells him to hold his horses. Indignant, he declares he is fully aware of the score after being cooped up in this place for an entire month. Leaning against the glass panel, the guy demands to know exactly when he is getting a hall pass out of here. The instructor pauses for a second and replies that, if he is on his best behavior, there might just be a slim chance. Leaving the cell for good, the visitor warns that he will only earn his freedom once he hits adulthood. At that moment, the prisoner figures he will probably never make it out of that research center in one piece. Consumed by rage, he throws a heavy punch right at the containment glass. Thanks to the sheer force, the glass panel starts cracking right where his fist connected. The whole structure shatters completely, and a glowing monitor pops up welcoming player number 1. Totally mind blown, he watches the space around him glitch out into digital pixels. Floating in an empty cyber void, the boy tries to figure out what kind of simulation he just dropped into. Then, he remembers the instructor's little speech about his power manifesting as a video game. Stepping onto the holographic floor, it finally clicks that this is his own ability booting up. A massive glowing menu appears around him, launching the game of Infinite Division. The system notifies him that the character creation screen is officially open for business. The default model pops up on the monitor, a guy named Gu Wenyu, rocking some solid Category D stats. The starter bio details that he is a local high schooler who awakens some edgy darkness powers. According to the lore, he found out his own relatives have been hiding some deeply messed up secrets for quite a while. Right after that, another avatar named Andre shows up, flexing a totally different skill set. The interface prompts the MC to lock in one of the 2 identity options to log into the physical world. Without overthinking it, the kid makes his final pick. Upon selecting the Esper Gu Wenyu, the system asks him to choose his avatar's moral alignment. He goes with the true neutral option, and just like that, the game starts rendering him into the real world. The MC notices the game map is the exact same spot he was originally snatched from. Seeing this, he steams to use his fresh new body to snoop on the folks who locked him up. The gray path was chosen on purpose, just to make flopping between being a good guy and a menace way easier. The menu starts a countdown for an immediate drop into the urban zone. Blindsided by a harsh beam of light, he wakes up at a school desk, shielding his face from the sun. The setting turns out to be a rowdy classroom, with students hyping up their summer break. Still a bit woozy, he scans the classroom around him. Suddenly, the kid pushes his desk away and stands up right in the middle of the room. Heading straight for the window, he tries to process exactly where he just spawned. Looking down at the courtyard, it hits him with a wave of shock that he is actually on the outside. The sunlit cityscape confirms that he finally managed to pull off a prison break from that research center. Leaning on the windowsill, he takes a deep breath, totally relieved that his crazy gamble actually worked. However, the jump scare kicks in when someone randomly slaps a hand on his shoulder out of nowhere. His classmate Li Qingping invites him over to hang out at his place later. Right then, the system flags a massive memory download straight into the kid's brain. His head gets swamped by a brutal avalanche of intense lore about his new life. Noticing his buddy's sudden wince, the classmate nervously asks if everything is cool. Starting to pull himself together, he holds his head while the system wraps up the data transfer. Trying to play it cool, he fibs about oversleeping and promises he will swing by Li Qingping's house. Grabbing his backpack straps, he gets ready to dip out of there fast. The MC bails from the room while his buddy hyped up remarks that break has just begun. Totally confused by the rush, Li Qingping asks out loud where his friend is speeding off to, but the kid just leaves him on read and speedruns down the stairs. Pushing open the exit, Gu Wenyu hits the rooftop and drops his bag on the ground. Taking long strides, he celebrates finally being a free man, realizing everything around him as ultra-realistic graphics. Because it is actually real. Plus, the kid instantly recognizes the zone he just fast traveled into. Scanning the skyline, he confirms he is in Lijiang and is pretty mind-blown that he essentially hacked his way into this reality. Next, he thinks about the butterfly effect and how meddling directly with reality feels like a total fever dream. Taking a long sigh, the MC tries to digest this whole bizarre setup. It dawns on him that his real body would never see the light of day again if the lab coats ever found out about this cheat code of a power. Stepping up to the ledge, the guy mentally reviews the patch notes about the limits of his new form. Without blinking, Gu Wenyu does a trust fall backward right off the roof. Mid-air, some weird, dark shadowy stuff starts sprouting from his hand. In that split second, the kid cranks his power up to the max. A blast of dark energy slices through the air, forming shadowy binding wraps. Completely engulfed in edgelord darkness, he free falls while his skill finishes loading in. Inspecting the aura, the guy notices the wraps fitting perfectly down his arms like custom gear. Suddenly, the shadowy mass shoots violently up toward the sky. Grappling onto the skyscrapers, he uses the darkness to swing through the air at breakneck speed. And just like that, the MC is parkering across the big city skyline, vaulting over buildings. Zipping through the air, his shadowy figure totally turns the heads of the pedestrians walking below. Completely shook, one pedestrian whips out their smartphone, thinking they just spotted a UFO. Meanwhile, Gu Wenyu is grinning ear to ear, thinking the feeling of using this power is absolutely top tier. In his mind, the skill feels like a flawless mashup of Spider-Man and Venom. After his little joyride, the kid sticks a heavy superhero landing on top of a metal frame. Checking out the beat-up-front facade, he instantly recognizes the Lijiang orphanage. Standing still at the highest point, the young guy can hardly believe he finally made it back to this joint. Getting hit by a wave of nostalgia, he remembers the times he used to stare out the top-floor window, never getting the chance to actually leave. Swept up in memories, the MC just stands there quietly staring at his old holding cell. By the time late afternoon hits, he reaches the residential block and faces the house belonging to his new character. According to the lore, his relatives seem like your average folks, though the kid admits he has zero experience dealing with an actual family. The mom of this new playthrough passed away in an accident 5 years ago, caught in the crossfire of some superpowered folks. After that, the dad went off the deep end with grief and pulled a vanishing act from the house without a trace. Turning the dork knob, he figures he will only have to deal with the older brother and the little sister. However, as he cracks the door open, the kid spots something super sketchy inside the house. Right by his hand, a floating virtual settings icon pops up out of nowhere. Pushing the door wide open, the MC is greeted by a glowing menu packed with dialogue options. Scanning the tabs, the guy zeroes in straight on the quest log. At that very moment, a familiar voice echoing from the hallway mentions he was waiting for him to show up. Utterly baffled, the kid watches the system auto-generate quests to uncover the dark secrets of his own relatives. The main quest tasks him with investigating his older brother, Gu Kai, who just casually walks in holding a knife covered in ketchup. Wait, no, that is blood. Welcoming the younger sibling inside, the brother smoothly comments on his timing. The guy mentions dinner is already plated up and tells him to eat before it goes cold. Completely rooted to the spot, the MC just stares wide-eyed at the sticky blade in his bro's hand. Sweating bullets, he asks if the dude was really just prepping a meal looking like an extra from a horror flick. Now seated at the loaded table, Gu Wenyu tries to play it cool while Gu Kai asks about their little sister. Scarfing down his food, the kid lies and says she is sleeping over at a friend's place, completely ignoring whatever shady stuff she is hiding. Satisfied with the answer, the older brother announces he is beat and retreats to his bedroom to catch some sleep. The second he is alone in the living room, the system's skill tree loads onto the MC's display. The glowing user interface displays the current level of each superpower branch. Checking out his options, he studies the buffs centered around his shadow wraps. Sitting on one unspent talent point, the guy figures a stealthy recon skill would hit the spot perfectly. Suddenly, a breaking news alert on the TV steals his attention. The broadcast shows a vigilante dubbed Blue Bao, who just wrapped up some gang activity downtown. Glued to the screen, the kid absorbs every detail of the live coverage. The anchor hypes up the armored hero as an elite member of the local superhuman guild. Getting a good look at the high-tech suit, the MC gets a sneaking suspicion that this exact same corporation was the one that locked him up in the lab. Determined to dig up some intel, he plants his hand firmly on the table. Spending his only point, the boy unlocks his sensory powers and fires up his dark energy. Instantly, a spectral eye pops into existence, giving him the ability to draft a crazy detailed mental map of the area. With just a thought, his magic radar phases through the walls and heads straight for the upper floor. The system chimes in that the quest rewards have dropped, handing out fresh stat points. Reading the floating text, the guy realizes he can use this loot to roll a brand new avatar, which means, down the line, the MC will be able to manage different bodies all over the globe at the same time. Tuning in with his new advanced radar, the kid picks up radio chatter reporting a villainous attack. He quickly realizes the audio feed is coming straight from Gu Kai's bedroom. Peeking through the floorboards like a hacker, the power reveals his older brother slouching at his desk, grumbling about being summoned again. Wrapping bandages around a busted arm, the guy mutters bitterly about having just gotten home all banged up. The radio warns that the bad guy specifically requested him and is taking hostages, which makes the brother absolutely furious. Moving fast, the relative rips off his blood-stained shirt in one swift motion. Right after, intense streaks of blue power start surging across his physique. The electrical energy morphs into high-tech armor, exposing his true secret identity. Watching from downstairs, the MC thinks it is hilarious that his own family member is the famous hotshot hero on TV. The comms device rushes the hero, warning him about the danger to the innocent folks held captive in the plaza. Fully geared up, Gu Kai answers the call of duty and gets ready to stop a media disaster. Telling the squad to stall for time, the hero vanishes from the bedroom in a blinding flash of light. Fast traveling to the zone, the fighter Blue Bow hits the crime scene sparking with electricity. Chilling in stealth nearby, Gu Wenyu is impressed by his relative's speed, even with the debuffs from his injuries. Just then, the game updates the quest log, telling him to establish a mutual aid bond with the vigilante crew. Sighing in exhaustion, the MC thinks it is a massive drag that the system is forcing him to get mixed up in this circus. Down on the ground at the plaza, the cops stress over the hostages, terrible situation, and pray the hero shows up fast. In the center of the lockdown zone, a little kid is crying his eyes out in full panic mode while his mom hugs him tight. A bunch of goons with blasters keep their sights locked dead on the captive innocents. Hovering over the area, the villain Green Wings loses his cool and threatens to eliminate the first hostage in a 10-second countdown. Flashing his pointy teeth, the monster starts counting backward at the top of his lungs. While he glides over the steel frame, the seconds tick down without a pause. With only 2 seconds left on the clock, Blue Bow leaps full force right at the boss. Dripping with sarcasm, the criminal mocks the grand entrance of Lejing's most popular hero. Ignoring the trash talk, the fighter calls the line totally cliché and demands to know what the guy wants right now. The creature orders his opponent to surrender and come with him immediately in exchange for the prisoner's safety. Hard passing on the deal, the agent declares he is choosing to rescue everyone first and bag the bad guy second. However, Green Wings drops the bomb that he rigged the innocents with explosives, which can be triggered by undercover goons. Full of himself, the creature dares the hero to gamble with those people's lives. Ticked off, Gu Kai is positive he could defuse the bombs with zero effort if he was not currently nerfed by his injuries. Suddenly, a captured lady begs frantically for the savior not to throw in the towel. Annoyed by the interruption, the villain barks at the woman to zip her lip that instant. The hostage shrinks back, absolutely terrified by the monster's yelling. Out of patience, the crook orders his squad to pull the triggers and blow the place sky high. Panicking, Blue Bow reaches out in a desperate bid to stop the incoming wipeout. Down below, one of the henchmen is super confused seeing his buddies ignoring the command. Right at that second, a firearm slips from a thug's hands and hits the deck. The criminal notices the rest of his crew getting hoisted up by some unknown force. Up at the highest point, Green Wing spots the weird commotion and is completely lost. Several streaks of dark magic grab the bad guys and leave them dangling in mid-air while they scream their heads off. Pinned to the ground, the hostages stare at the whole spectacle in pure disbelief. Controlling the shadows, Gu Wenyu spawns at the top of the structure, crowd controlling all the bad guys at once. Rocking a brand new mask, the MC flashes a spooky look from the heart of the darkness. Disoriented by the party crasher, the monster asks if the mystery guy is teaming up with the hero, but gets a flat no. Furious, Green Wings orders the interloper to back off, warning he is going to blow up the hostages. Standing perfectly still and chill, the kid boots up his system with the goal of becoming a trending topic in society. Checking a social interactions guide, he admits the quest sounds like a headache, but decides to give it a shot anyway. Tuning out the warning, he hears the criminal screaming that he will level half the plaza with the bombs. Glued to the text, Gu Wenyu learns that step 1 for building empathy is mirroring the other person's vibe. Getting into character, he tells the bad guy to chill out and just press the button already if he actually has the guts. Putting the guide away, the guy roasts the enemy's IQ without showing an ounce of fear. Striking an intimidating pose, he reminds the creature that wiping out the innocents would trash the only bargaining chip he has. Hearing the insult, the criminal grinds his teeth, totally consumed by rage. Out of options, Greenwing swears he will end the kid if he does not drop his crew right this second. Double-checking the guide, the MC decides to grant the enemy's request and simply snaps his fingers. Instantly, one of the shadow raps brutally crushes a henchman's throat. The criminal lets out a piercing scream of agony as he gets wrecked by the dark magic force. Witnessing this hardcore move, Green Wings goes into absolute shock. The dark power savagely separates the goon's head from his shoulders, making an absolute mess everywhere. Without breaking a sweat or showing any emotion, the kid asks if he did not just follow the exact instructions. Dangle holding the detached head with his shadow raps, the MC wonders why the villain is not doing a happy dance. Down below, the henchman's remains hit the pavement with a heavy thud. Speechless, Blue Bow watches the live takedown in sheer horror. Shaking with fury, the creature unleashes every curse word in the book at the kid. Noticing his opponent backing away in the air, Gu Wenyu figures he totally tanked his charisma check. Dropping the bad guys, he realizes it will be way easier to just buddy up with someone on the hero roster. Because of that, the shadow starts creeping menacingly toward the shrinking hostages. The little kid's mom goes wide-eyed, completely swallowed by pure terror. In a super twisted move, the bad guys' detached skulls are arranged in a circle around the hostages. The boy suggests the innocents use the heads to get some payback against the weapons that threaten them, but the creepy gesture just makes the lady grab her kid and scream her lungs out in total panic. Shocked by the crowd's reaction, the MC gets a system pop up telling him to chill with the aggressive plays. Sweating cold drops, he realizes how tough this mission is and decides to patch up the mess he just made. Flexing his dark power, the guy reattaches the skulls back onto the knocked out goons. Proud of his handiwork, he claims it looks like the bad guys did not even take a scratch. Still hugging each other for dear life, the hostages watch this absolute madness in pure confusion. The system notification dings again, pointing out that the kid's karma meter is dropping like a rock. Trying to smooth things over, he lies to the lady, claiming the whole gore fest was just some fancy CGI projection. But then, one of the henchman's skulls slowly slides right off its reattached neck. A fountain sprays from the open gap, right in front of the innocent victims. The kid's mom is completely traumatized seeing this horror movie set up close. Facepalming hard, the boy listens to the screams while the system threatens to ban him for griefing like a total villain. Laughing nervously, he tries to pull an excuse out of thin air for the glitch and admits that networking with humans is exhausting. Suddenly, blue lights flash across the zone, signaling a heavy attack is inbound. Sticking a heavy landing right behind the MC, Blue Bow demands a face reveal from the culprit. With a piercing glare, Gu Wenyu claims to be just an indie third party who refuses to be boxed into good or bad alignments. Aiming his dark magic at his relative, he promises that by tomorrow they will be the best co-op partners. Pointing fingers directly, Blue Bow states the kid straight upended the bad guys. Tilting his head, Gu Wenyu asks if the hero would be throwing a party if the hostages had bitten the dust instead of them. The agent argues that taking someone out requires legal due process, but the MC finds that logic super boring and doubts it is his real offline opinion. Firing up his shadow powers, the guy suggests they move to a private voice chat. Blasting his magic at the floor, he announces he wants to hear the fighters' unfiltered hot takes. A dark portal spawns, sucking the MC in, while his relative just watches the escape trick from a distance. Moving fast, the agent charges up a massive blue energy blast in his hands. Reaching the exact spot the guy vanished from, Blue Bow hears the kid echo that their meetup is already locked in the schedule. Popping into a new portal on the rooftop, Gu Wenyu announces the next move is entirely in the hero's court. Pacing on the roof, The agent glares at the shadowy tag left on the concrete. Soon after, he inspects a tiny crumb of dark magic he managed to trap in his palms. Within seconds, the weird pure black mist just evaporates into thin air. Looking up, the vigilante hears the villain roaring in anger for being completely ignored the entire time. Keeping his cool, the agent advises the boss to turn himself in, seeing as his bombs and squad got totally wiped out. Absolutely stunned, Green Wings realizes the hero guild has the entire perimeter blocked off, leaving zero escape routes. Stepping onto the ledge, the criminal still tries to use the hostages as a bargaining chip. Apparently, he missed the memo that the innocents are already safe and sound under police protection. Staring at the monster, Blue Bow tells him to actually check his minimap and see what is happening downstairs. The bad guy finally notices he has been completely stripped of any high ground in this scenario. Consumed by rage, he spouts curses at the whole setup, fully aware his master plan completely crashed and burned. Just 60 seconds after the arrest, the fighter is already speeding through the metropolis. Using his lightning to boost his jumps, he expertly parkours across the concrete jungle. Standing still at the tracked coordinates, the agent demands the runaway log out of stealth mode and show himself. Chilling upside down from a tree, Gu Wenyu casually mentions he already figured he would draw aggro. Wrapped up in his dark ribbons, the kid gives a chill greeting to Lejing's famous hero. Cutting to the chase, the relative asks what the true backstory of this weird newcomer is. Dropping to his feet, the young guy clarifies he does not have a hero tag yet, but bets the internet will cook one up fast. Holding a hexed piece of paper, the MC asks if the agent wants a sneak peek at what he is holding. The newspaper clipping shows a throwback article about a man who sued the state after his wife was taken out by a member of the Hero Corp. Flashing a sharp look, the kid addresses the fighter using his real life name, Gu Kai. Completely flabbergasted, Blue Bow listens to the guy drop the lore about the tragic passing of his own mom. Turning around, Gu Wenyu breaks down how that disaster spawned some deep-rooted beef against super-powered folks in the agent's brain. Projecting an illusion of the brutal scene, he wraps up his theory that the fighter only joined the guild to farm government influence and power. Tapping his projected fingers, the young guy bets the relative's only endgame is to hunt down the boss who caused their mom's demise. Clenching his fist tight, the vigilante calls the whole conspiracy theory a giant load of bull. Brushing off the denial, the MC offers to team up to help him grind ranks and track the culprit. Putting on a spooky voice, he swears that, as a duo, they will pull off an epic payback against whoever pulled the trigger. Holding up one finger, the boy warns that, as his cut, he just wants one tiny, insignificant favor. Skeptical of the shiny offer, Gu Kai asks what the premium fee for this boost is going to be. Walking toward the rift, the newbie chooses to keep it a mystery to avoid any major glitches, and just asks the vigilante to act as his bodyguard in the city. Using his electric dash, the fighter charges in, demanding to know how the random dude doxed his civilian life. Taking a quick pause, Gu Wenyu looks over his shoulder while cooking up his next line. Pointing at his own eye, he claims he has a passive skill that sees right through any cosmetic mask to the true identity underneath. Enraged by the cryptic nonsense, the fighter refuses to buy that ridiculous excuse. Moving aggressively, Gu Kai charges up an electric melee attack, swearing he will knock the invader offline right there. The lightning punch slices the air just as the MC dodges, backflipping straight into the dark portal. Seeing his relative whiff the attack, the kid jokes about his low HP and suggests he hit a medbay first. Fading into the dark smoke, he logs off cheerfully, leaving the agent all by his lonesome on the empty street. Intense lightning bolts start tearing up the sky, warning that a massive storm is hitting the server. Standing in the pouring rain, the fighter stays frozen, trying to process that whole glitched-out encounter. Blood quietly leaks out from between his armor plates, showing just how badly his HP bar is actually doing. Later that night, the heavy rain washes over the Gu family's residential zone. Walking across the wet balcony floor, the kid finally makes it back to his home base after clearing his objective. Stepping into the dark bedroom, he thinks about how overly complicated and full of debuffs his brother's hero grind really is. At that moment, the system dings, confirming he officially cleared Phase 2 of the Hero Guild questline. Tossing off his jacket, the guy admits that maxing out his relative's trust meter so fast would be basically impossible. Still, he hypes himself up over the massive XP drops he managed to hoard from finishing his starter quest. Chilling on his bed, he finds it funny trying to guess what kind of gamer tags the internet will slap on his alter ego. Booting up his digital screen, the boy checks out the global stats menu for his main avatar. Looking at the shiny holographic upgrade paths, he really feels like he is living inside an RPG. Thinking about physical combat, he concludes that dumping points into speed is the ultimate meta for avoiding one-shot KOs. Following that strat, the MC moves fast and sinks his available points straight into the agility stat. Right after, the guy clicks into the progression menu for his combat skills. A massive virtual dashboard pops up, displaying a bunch of mystical abilities waiting to be unlocked. The digital data flickers brightly as the system processes the user's fresh input. Scanning the skill trees, he checks out what kind of utility the shadow manipulation branch can actually dish out. Reading up on one of the moves, the kid spots a spell that basically acts like a built-in lie detector. He also peeks at the DPS tree, noticing that path is purely min-maxed for raw destruction. However, the young guy figures that, in the early game, he needs to focus on utility and tracking just to survive the aggro. Spending his earn point, he chooses to unlock the advanced shadow, tracking passive. Wondering how the mechanics work in practice, he asks himself if he needs to wrap a target's entire hitbox, or just a piece of them to mine the data. Pumped about his new toolkit, the kid decides he will drive his power's range on the first unlucky mob that crosses his path. Moving on, his focus shifts to the hyped up tab that lets him roll a brand new character. The UI says that minting a new avatar costs 3 division tokens, but he only has 1 sitting in his inventory. Because of that, he plans to raid the old orphanage later to farm those tokens, using his avatars as meat shields to stay safe. Back at the research center, the boy wakes up startled by the booming sound of heavy lightning flashing through his cell window. Totally bewildered, he locks eyes on a sudden event that grabs his attention. A hand sparking with blue electricity grabs the door handle of his room. The door swings open, revealing an intimidating silhouette stepping into the pitch black dorm. Staring into the dark space, the person scans the room with eagle-eyed vision. Chilling in his bed, the kid breathes a sigh of relief, figuring he was just lagging and imagining threats. Right then, the intercom announces the instructor is dropping by for a queue and a session with test subject record 1002, Ji Mingjiu. Pulling up a chair, the man asks if the captive wants the scoop on some super-powered individuals who just spawned in the outside world. Playing it cool, the professor calls the MC by his first name, trying to sound like a buddy. Still lying on his back, the guy just hums, acting like he could not care less. Hiding under the blanket, he shoots a super sus look at this random late-night visit. Stretching like a cat, Ji Mingjiu sits up and wishes the visitor a good evening, pretending everything is totally normal. Noticing the kid's energy, the man drops a hyped comment before switching gears. Putting on an intimidating vibe, the guest asks how the captive knows it is nighttime, considering he is locked up without a clock widget. Not losing his cool, the MC fires back that he just guessed based on the guy's super annoying habit of ruining his sleep schedule. Offering a fake apology, the instructor pats his coat, saying he just wants to run a quick survey. He then whips out a photo and shows a screenshot of a shadowy figure causing chaos outside. Cutting to the chase, the man stares down the guy and asks if the player in the photo is actually him. Checking the peg, the kid instantly recognizes it is his own Smurf account, pulling stunts in the real world. Trying to cover his tracks, he plays dumb and asks what this weird hero's gamer tag is. The man clarifies that the outside community agreed to slap a placeholder name on the mystery player. Adjusting his glasses, he drops the nickname Black Poopa and mentions he instantly thought of the kid when he saw the design. Laughing it off, the MC suggests the visitor should just roast him to his face, instead of making these wild leaps of logic. Bouncing off the sarcasm, the visitor brings up the kid's weird backstory of rolling himself up in paperback at the shelter. Done with the chat, Ji Mingjiu insists that was just some noob child's play and does not count as hard evidence. Keeping up the spooky vibe, the man ignores the excuses and starts dropping the real lore behind his suspicions. Shifting to a dark tone, the professor reveals that someone made a prophecy linking future server wipes directly to the kid. The leak claims this specific inmate will be the main boss responsible for entirely deleting the planet a little down the road. Treating it like a massive meme, the young guy starts cracking up, roasting the absurd idea of causing the apocalypse while stuck in a tutorial zone. Keeping the sus atmosphere, the visitor just shrugs and refuses to rule out the bad ending. Shooting a sharp glare, the boy demands to know who started this rumor and asks for a face-to-face with this supposed oracle. The professor instantly denies the request, stating there is zero chance of setting up an IRL meetup. The excuse is that even the devs themselves have never met the fortune teller and have absolutely no clue who they are. Even so, he confesses that every major disaster predicted by this secret VIP has triggered perfectly. Feeling the heaviness of the topic, the captive wonders if he really is hard-coded to trigger all that tragedy. Suddenly switching tracks, the visitor announces a girl named Kong Yuling will be dropping by in 5 minutes. The MC throws himself to the edge of the bed, completely hyped by the surprise update. Opening the door, the professor mentions he will let them have a free chat in private without any mods stepping in. Left alone, the guy feels the weight of his flashbacks, thinking about how much playtime has passed since they last partied up. From there, he gets lost in old lore while his partner's face starts rendering in his mind. The flashback takes him right to day one when he first got a good look at her. It all started exactly 3 years ago, in a map completely different from the freezing lockdown lab. Back then, young Ji Mingjiu was still stuck in the boring, messy grind of his old home base. The scene shifts to the old shelter, where the kid made it his mission to troll people, just to cure his boredom. A monitor introduced the new resident, an albino girl who, according to the rumors, spawned without the audio or voice chat features. Thanks to the girl showing up, the rest of the lobby was forced to learn sign language, which caused massive saltiness among the other kids. Watching from afar, the guy noticed her go. Strat was writing on paper to avoid getting in anyone's way. Unlike the rest of the kids in the shelter, he did not give a single care about the shy girl's debuffs. Running on pure stamina, the kid was always sprinting through the halls and causing chaos wherever he went. In his view, they were both just super weird NPCs living in their own personal server, totally ignored by the casuals. Chilling on the top floor at night, he finally gathered the guts to drop his tragic backstory. Staring at the starry skybox, the kid confessed how dumb he was for trusting that his parents would actually log back in to get him. But the seasons just kept rolling by, and the promise of their return turned out to be vaporware. Accepting the reality check, he said he leveled up mentally and realized he could only rely on his own stats. Totally mute, the white-haired girl paid super close attention to every single syllable of his deeply honest rant. Holding back tears, the kid admitted she was the only player he ever wanted to duo with for the rest of his run. Suddenly, a light tap on his shoulder pulls him out of his sad AF daydream. The girl flashes her notepad with a short message, asking if she could actually put her trust in him. In that exact second, the kid experienced the massive dopamine hit of actually feeling valuable to another human being for the first time. With his heart racing, pure joy takes over the young shelter kid's face. Right after, he aggressively promised he would tank any threat coming for Kong Yuling from that moment on. Her journal got a brand new page featuring his ultimate vow that he would never leave her party. Snapping back to current time, the dorm door opens, revealing the girl standing frozen in the doorway. The MC jumps up with hype, feeling a huge wave of relief seeing his old duo partner looking healthy. With a super sweet expression, the girl hugs her notebook tight, making it obvious she missed him just as much. Without hesitating, he steps forward, trying to close the gap between him and his visitor. The exact millisecond he moves, a brutal electric shock zaps through his entire hitbox. The kid screams in agony as the shock collar dishes out a massive penalty for trying to initiate physical contact. Hitting the floor in pain, he hears the security intercom announce that physical touch is strictly banned on this server. Heartbroken, Kong Yuling throws herself to the ground, desperate to play healer for her injured friend. Shaking, Jimingju raises a hand and assures her he is already used to the prison's taser mechanics. Breathing heavy, he figures the girl only got clearance to enter the zone, so she could datamine info out of him. Looking super depressed, she flips her notepad page, showing the exact prompt the admins demanded she ask. Scanning the text, the guy realizes how toxic the faction is for using the only friend he has as spyware. Sitting on the floor, he claims he has zero info on his powers, and is positive that dropping the truth bombs would get both of their accounts deleted. Grabbing her pen, Kong Yuling scribbles fast on her pad, confirming she understands the meta. Looking down, the girl stays painfully silent, because she is totally locked out of doing anything to help him. But then, she flips the page to show a hidden message confessing just how much she missed him. Seeing his partner's message, the kid feels his HP restore and lets his muscles relax. Suddenly, the professor hops on the mic from upstairs, saying the timer is up, and orders the guards to escort the girl out. The man promises there will be more co-op sessions later if the kid plays nice, and asks if he finally believes the girl is unharmed. Furious, the kid roasts their moral compass for keeping an 11-year-old locked up like they are some kind of heroes. Chilling comfortably, the visitor admits the captive's mature vibe often makes him forget the kid is only 12 years old. Lying on his back, Jimingji uses the window to ask if he can get a quick feco answered. He asks why they do not just permanently ban his life right now, since they know about the planet's doom, warning they might get salty if he goes rogue. Keeping up the edgy mystery vibe, the visitor flips the question, asking if he actually wants the real patch notes on that. Without backing down a single inch, the guy demands the professor drop the lore immediately. The instructor explains that players at 1 HP can unlock a catastrophic damage multiplier, which is the only reason they have not ended his run yet. Getting comfy on the bed, the MC laughs and celebrates the fact he can finally AFK in peace, knowing he will not get stealth eliminated. Seeing the kid acting so confident, the visitor just lets out a scoff loaded with pure disrespect. Turning his back, the professor ends the voice chat right there, and tells the inmate to log off and sleep early today. Chilling in bed, the kid stays quiet, buffering all the crazy lore drops he just heard. Miles away from that spot, night falls over the family's residential zone in the real-world map. A purple magic portal pops up in the air, signaling the return of the primary mind control. Right after, the system announces the avatar's hero tag got updated thanks to his exploding clout. Standing upstairs, the MC notices the community is officially calling him Black Poopa now. Laughing it off, He finds it pretty wild that the internet managed to brand him in under 12 hours. Staring at the dark magic in his hand, the guy plans to focus his grind on finding the research lab so he can save his main body and his old duo partner. Looking at the Sunset Metropolis, he promises that if the stealth strat fails, he will not think twice about going full DPS mode. Kong Yuling's image renders in his mind as the main buff keeping him in the fight. Filled with lethal energy, the kid vows to absolutely wipe out anyone who blocks his path. Suddenly, a noise at the bedroom door completely shatters the room's stealthy silence. Startled, he instantly realizes another player just entered the house. The door slowly opens, revealing the silhouette of a girl holding a racket in the pitch black room. Without missing a beat, the newcomer hits the light switch, illuminating the guest room. Hiding under the covers, the guy breathes a sigh of relief for having enough agility to avoid getting caught. Right after, the girl stomps into the room wearing her house slippers. Peeking from below, the MC instantly IDs his little sister, Suzume. In that exact minute, the system drops a main quest asking him to dig up the little sister's hidden lore. Using the racket, the girl aggressively starts poking the lump on the bed. Sweating cold, the kid gets super anxious about this unscripted encounter. Tossing the blanket aside fast, he tells her to cut it out and asks what her deal is. Acting super bossy, Suzume laughs at his AFK lifestyle, pointing out he only ever logs in at night. Digging through the character's memory banks, the guy remembers his relative is in high school and has basically always rocked this exhausted aesthetic. He also recalls that her different last name is the result of some ancient family tradition. Ignoring the drama, the girl sighs and announces she does not have the stamina to deal with his nonsense right now. Having absolutely zero clue what is happening, the MC thinks this entire cutscene is beyond bizarre. Just then, the bedroom TV starts broadcasting unseen footage of the public square hostage event. The news anchor breaks down how the mystery rookie used dark strings to crowd control the bad guys. Holding a soda can over the table, Gu Wenyu listens to the reporter describe the crazy crime scene. The broadcast announces the rookie vigilante got dubbed Black Pupa and was stamped with a Category B threat level. Drink in hand, the kid finds it pretty interesting that there is an official power tier list in this server. Seizing the moment, he decides to beta test his new Recon power on his little sister before the older bro gets home. The UI says he just needs to tag the target with dark magic to download all their data. Without making a sound, a tiny strip of shadow magic starts spawning behind the MC's back. The darkness creeps through the air, inching closer to the girl who is busy scrolling on her phone. Going full stealth, the tip of the mystic energy lightly taps her shoulder. Instantly, Suzume's eyes go wide as her danger sense pings a warning in the room. Completely blindsided, the guy never expected her reaction time to be so insanely fast and automatic. The girl slowly turns her head, shooting her brother a glare loaded with maximum suspicion. Trying to mask his panic, he offers her a sip of his soda, acting like absolutely nothing glitchy just happened. Thinking the whole thing is weird, the youngest sibling goes back to her phone, assuming it was just a random lag in her brain. Taking a sip, the MC checks the HUD and notices the main quest still has not cleared. Super curious, he wonders if he has to actually spectate her using her powers for the system to validate the progress. Next, the girl's stat sheet pops up, revealing she is a veteran exorcist bound to a wax entity. He then remembers that, back when he rolled the avatar, there were 3 main classes of super-powered beings on the planet. With this new intel, the guy figures exorcists are the perfect puzzle piece to complete his world map. Right then, Gukai walks into the room, surprised to see his 2 relatives actually hanging out in the same space. Showing off his grocery haul, the vigilante happily announces he is cooking tonight's dinner. Rocking a friendly vibe, he tells them both to chill until the food drops before they log off to their rooms. Looking at the young man, the MC is blown away by his crazy fast HP regen right after a major boss fight. Without showing a hint of emotion, the youngest sister ruins the vibe by announcing their dad is returning to the server tonight. Gukai's hype face instantly vanishes, replaced by a super heavy silence. Hugging her pillow, the girl says it sucks because the 2 of them are inevitably going to start beefing again. Tuning out the family drama, the kid goes back to focusing on the game's UI regarding the power scaling system. The panel lists the 5 threat tiers the authorities use to rank super-powered players. The harmless and common tiers make up the most basic layer of corporation agents. On the flip side, the Dragon and Master classes are the actual elite sweat lords of the global guild. To join the absolute top tier squad, a power user has to officially hit the catastrophe rank. Checking the final data tab, the guy is mind blown to see that the dreaded restricted risk class only has 1 single entry in its entire history. Thinking it over, the MC figures the only guy ranked as restricted has already passed away, meaning they could not possibly be talking about him. Pacing the room, he realizes his lockdown life in the lab basically equaled a game overstate anyway. Chilling on the bed, the kid deduces that if he actually is the max risk anomaly, the lab devs definitely work for the association. From there, he starts theory, crafting a brand new strat in his head. Hanging in the room with his relatives, the guy tries to cook up a way to drag this fake family into his own boss fights. Watching them from a distance, he bets that playing this identity right will make it way easier to manipulate them later on. Staring at the photo of the late mom, the kid notices their mutual hatred for the bad guys will make forming a party super easy. With that fact, he calculates that the backups they can summon will form a seriously overpowered raid group. Suddenly, Gukai breaks the silence and demands the younger relative's attention. Holding a chef's knife, the fighter asks in a dark tone if the kid stayed home the entire night. Gripping her pillow, the little sister backs up the interrogation, pointing out he is acting super sus today. Caught off guard, the MC panics at getting double-teamed with accusations. Sweating bullets, he prays his cover is not blown and lies, saying he passed out right after eating. Still suspicious, the older relative asks if he picked up any weird audio cues dead in the night. However, the young guy decides to drop it and tells the kid to just forget he ever asked. Feeling all eyes on him, the boy finds his relative's vibe super weird and asks what is up with the intense staring contest. Keeping it real, the girl points out he is yapping way too much for a guy who usually camps in his room 24/7. Trying to shift aggro, he verbally attacks the youngest for sleeping through the entire afternoon, while she just declares she is logging off. Cooking the food, the big bro praises their banter and begs the kid not to inherit their dad's trash tier temper. Chopping the meat, Gukai suggests he focus his memory on how their mom took care of them and the chill family vibes from back in the day. Sipping his soda, the MC opts to stay mute, since back at the shelter, nobody ever taught him how to act like a normal family member. At that exact moment, the door alarm goes off, and the girl rushes to greet the visitor. The second she opens the door, Suzumai freezes on the spot, completely shocked by who spawned in. Anxious, the girl fixes her hair and tells her fighter bro that their dad just logged back in. In the kitchen area, the young hero goes totally stiff, not dropping a single word. Curious about the sudden heavy atmosphere, the young guy shoots a puzzled look at the door. A heavy aura and an intimidating silhouette pop up in the dark section of the entryway. The system instantly drops a mission, demanding the kid dig up hidden lore on this newly arrived old man. Scanning the guy at the door, the MC confirms this dude is the dad of his current simulation. The head of the house, named Gujuan, steps into the room showing a determined but totally drained vibe. Taking advantage of the family's distraction and nerves, the kid spots the perfect window to make a play. Going full stealth, he summons his dark magic and tries to tag the dad's shoulder from behind. However, the guy detects the weird aggro in a fraction of a second. A brutal snake-shaped energy bursts out the exact second the veteran furiously grabs the kid's arm. Busted mid-tempt, the MC is shocked by the insanely fast counter. Checking the game notification about his skill use, he realizes the boss of the house is a way higher threat level than the little sister. Jumping into the chaos, the older bro grabs the patriarch's shoulder and demands to know what the heck is going on in the living room. Playing dumb, the boy struggles to speak, making up a trash excuse that he just wanted to brush some dirt off the older guy's coat. The man squints, staring down the kid with a massive amount of suspicion. Right after, he lets go of the guy's arm and backpedals on his aggressive behavior. Explaining his aggro, the man claims that surviving under constant pressure these last few years has left his stress meter permanently maxed out. Standing a bit further back, the MC tries to process the terrifying jump scare he got when he cast his shadow power. The guy's aura looked like a massive snake that lunged at him and sank its fangs right into his chest hitbox. Getting the pop up that the quest cleared, the kid lets out a massive sigh of relief for mining the intel without blowing his cover. The plot twist drops when the system demands he forge an alliance with the ultra-dangerous villain known as Ghost Clock. Putting the clues together, the MC is absolutely floored to realize his own dad is the terrifying villain Ghost Clock. Without saying a word, he watches the tension get super suffocating as the fighter and the bad guy have a stare down in the living room. The system screen breaks down the dad's risky loadout, showing off his ability to spawn shadow clones. Digging into his memory banks, the boy remembers the bad guy used to rage when the rival squad did not chase his aggro. With that lore, he realizes the man deliberately turned himself into bait to hunt down his wife killers using his own resources. The MC loves the irony, seeing as the older brother took the exact opposite route, joining the hero guild through official channels. Even though they are grinding for the exact same ending, father and son ended up on opposite sides of the law thanks to a pure glitch of fate. Breaking the silence, Gukai demands the old man not drag his toxic debuffs into the house after pulling a vanishing act for a couple of years. Clenching his fists hard, the guy accuses his dad of still being the same selfish NPC who does not care about his own kid's misery. Using the youngest as an example, the fighter brings up the times the girl cried her eyes out begging for the missing dad to respawn. Faced with the heavy accusations, the older man stays quiet, staring into the void. Furious, the younger brother declares the veteran only cares about ghost players and says he never should have let him in the lobby. Almost out the door, the man turns his head and fires back an insult, questioning the guy himself. With an ice-cold voice, the bad guy asks if the flawless fighter already forgot about his own mom who got taken out by an assassin. Hit right in the critical weak spot, the older relative's eyes go wide, completely overtaken by unstoppable rage. Unable to hold back, Gukai grabs his dad by the collar and orders him to shut his mouth right that second. Full of angst, the youngest sister jumps into the shouting match while the fighter screams that the old man has zero clue about his sacrifices. Over in the corner, the MC just spectates the family meltdown without moving a single pixel. Out of patience, the dad shoves his own son away and demands the whole circus stop right there. The knockback pushes the young guy away, who looks at his dad with a mix of shock and massive emotional damage. Letting out a deep sigh, the senior guy looks away, rocking a face that screams zero stamina. Keeping his poker face solid, the boy keeps analyzing all the emotional dialogue options of that heated argument. Ignoring his spawn, the veteran turns his back and walks straight for the front door. The chaos is so massive that Suzumai uses the open door to make a break for it, crying as she runs to the sidewalk. Staring at the empty doorway, the MC notes his little sister's sudden disconnect. Freaking out over her logging off, the vigilante sprints toward the street, swearing he will bring the girl back. Left alone in the living room, the guy sighs in annoyance at being forced to sit through all that unbearable family drama. Holding his smartphone, he concludes that the total chaos just opened up the perfect window to advance his own questline. The night rolls on quietly, covering the Gu family's map right after the massive blowup. Through the app, he shoots an anonymous DM asking if the fighter finally started getting sus about his own dad. Over the chat, the fighter straight up demands to know who is hiding behind that burner account. The MC replies using his Black Poopa title, stating that info should drop a decent amount of shock value. Reading the text, Gukai instantly identifies the rookie fighter he bumped into earlier. Chilling on the street against some gear, the young guy laughs at the tracking attempt, pointing out the ping would just bounce back to their own house. He agrees that the dad seems to be hiding a massive plot point and offers to leak the whole truth if they keep leveling up their partnership. Rocking a serious expression, the fighter decides to drop just one final question. Taking a sip of his drink, the kid does a massive spit, seeing his relative ask if he is actually their old man using a disguised skin. Absolutely tilted, the MC cannot believe he acts like a bro to the vigilant, while the guy legit suspects he is the family boomer. Getting zero reply to that wild theory, the agent circles back to the main point and asks what the rookie's actual endgame is. Keeping the mystery alive, the boy claims that answer is classified and just demands the relative recognize the incoming boss level threat. Over the comms, he warns that doxing their daily identity turned the brother duo into sitting ducks, a detail the fighter completely missed. The relative agrees with the logic and says yes to a temporary party invite, officially clearing the game's milestone. Right then, the Hichuri confirms the quest is cleared, refreshes the next objective, and drops the exact loot needed to roll a new character. Suddenly, Suzumai spawns right behind her relative accompanied by a friend, wanting to know what he just pulled off. Getting a massive jump scare, the kid covers up the truth fast and says dad, and the older bro sent him to fetch her so they could head back together. Turning her head, the girl rejects the prompt and announces she is crashing at her friend's base for the night. Walking side by side on the street, the little sister mentions the MC got a massive character arc, since back in the day he never cared about anyone. Chilling on some playground equipment, she notes her friend is already pulling up to grab her. Thinking the setup is hilarious, the kid trolls her by asking if the girl is her romantic duo partner, which gets his relative super stressed over the comment. Keeping his chill vibe, he stays locked on the goal of finding out who this mystery NPC really is. Right then, a fancy lady approaches the sibling duo, introducing herself as the little sister's mentor. Spawning out of nowhere, the new player almost bumps into the MC and apologizes for the sudden collision. Introducing the guy to her mentor, the student presents her older relative and asks the teacher to chill out. Greeting the newcomer politely, the guy assumes she is some kind of guide in the spirit hunting skill tree. Flexing a deep aura, Kikyun does her formal intro, revealing herself as the girl's colleague, and offers a handshake. The second the MC shakes her hand, the system auto casts the dark tracking spell. Scanning the datum and info, he confirms the teacher rocks a super high power level among the spirit hunters in that zone. However, comparing her to the threat levels of his own family members, the kid notices the newcomer's stats are still way too low. Catching the kid's scanning look, the teacher keeps up a serious, highly secretive poker face. Changing her tone, the mentor announces she is taking the youngest under her wing, causing massive confusion for the girl who thought she was about to escape. On the walk back, the MC celebrates clearing the lore scan on his sister's secret life thanks to that sneaky handshake. Looking off in the distance, he figures he will need to track the woman down later to figure out exactly how she is linked to the patriarch. Standing frozen on the street, Kikian finds the weird chill that hit her the exact second she greeted the boy super sketchy. Noticing her partner zoning out, Suzumai breaks the silence and asks if there is a glitch in the plan. Looking at the student, the mentor admits her relative seems to be hiding a buff that is way out of the ordinary. Totally caught off guard, the youngest cannot process what triggered that sudden sus vibe. Sensing the danger in the air, the mentor tries to analyze the weird magic aura surrounding the players from that house. Suddenly, terrifying demonic mobs spawn into physical form, signaling that a DPS check is about to reveal the truth. The massive train-shaped creature barrels through the city streets, blowing smoke and making an ear-splitting racket. Ordering the girl to board the beast, the boss hears her student ask if she ended up catching feelings for the MC. Intrigued by the question, the mentor listens to her pupil explain that she did not seem to realize how OP her older relative actually is. Quickly changing the subject, the demon expert declares there is zero reason to get tangled in another guild's drama. Lighting up a smoke, she tells the girl to pack her inventory to crash at her place for the entire break. Already riding the monster, the youngest jokes about the mentor's smoking habit, warning that her brother would never approve of that kind of toxic debuff. Cruising through the dark skybox on top of the iron entity, the duo plots to grab some Asian food on their way to the capital of Japan. Miles away, Gu Wenyu focuses all his attention on the holographic HUD showing his avatar's global stats. Hoarding a bunch of points, he decides to dump everything into maxing his base physical strength to boost his combat performance. Hyped with the level up, the kid swipes the air to open the glowing menu of his dark magic skill trees. Checking the available powers, he locks onto a classified spell that can rip the actual truth out of any prisoner. He figures mastering this spell is the ultimate strat to farm the data needed to keep his run alive in that dimension. Spending the point, the MC celebrates the new skill and drafts a plan to cast this move on the guy running the orphanage. Digging through dark memories, he assumes the staff at that creepy joint definitely helped the lab devs snatch the kids. Flashing a look hungry for payback, the young guy swears to absolutely wreck anyone who refuses to drop straight answers about this conspiracy. Right after, the system hands over a stealth skin that grants total invisibility by wrapping the ribbons around his own hitbox. He thinks the skill is top tier for snooping on targets up close, even though he knows spec'ing purely into stealth leaves him squishy in a straight-up brawl. The UI shows off a heavy crowd, control ultimate that stacks all his previous spells to trap careless mobs. Dying to unlock that magic, the kid is super bummed he is out of points and realizes he has to grind his fame rank up. Wrapping up his upgrades, the MC notices recess outside the lab is over and that the prison queue any session is about to launch. The system boots up the total split feature, letting him pilot both physical bodies at the exact same time, 24/7. Spawning back in the white prison cell, the instructor shocks the inmate by confessing their strat of letting the test subjects interact. Totally lost on the new patch notes, the MC asks him to repeat that, trying to figure out why they dropped this sudden update. Casually sipping his drink, the visitor hints that the kids locked up on that tier were supposed to form a squad. Flashing a sharp glare, the boy asks if the admins are not terrified of a server-wide riot by stuffing OP kids in the same lobby. The visitor cracks a super confident smile, guaranteeing he has absolute admin control over every single subject inside the base. Chilling on his bed, the guy blames his laggy memory and demands the lore they agreed on regarding the different factions. Validating the deal, the visitor drops that the research dev team already suspects exactly what the kid's hidden power really is. Startled by the sudden news, the boy's UI reacts, auto-searching for data to buff his upcoming magic casts. The glowing screen reveals the current meta of every race roaming around in that chaotic universe. Analyzing the datamint intel, he concludes that delaying the spawn of his second avatar was the smartest play he could have made. Wanting to squeeze more core lore out of the visitor, the test subject picks which backstory he wants to download first. But the exact second the kid moves his lips to speak, something incredibly glitchy happens in his brain. A sharp, agonizing mental spike hits the MC with insane force right out of nowhere. Feeling his head throb violently, he describes the awful pain like a metal spike lagging straight through his cortex. The system pings an overload warning, stating that dualboxing two conscious minds at once eats up way too much CPU. Panning fast and sweating cold, he silently celebrates that the penalty collar did not detect any magic casting during that nasty lag spike. Seeing the kid looking dizzy, the professor immediately asks what is broken. Lying, the MC blames it on sleeping too much and asks to hear about the anomaly users. The visitor pauses his speech for a few seconds. Right after, he agrees to drop the lore. Shaking a mixer cup, the guest starts the story like he is reading a fairy tale to noobs about some magical sea mammal. Annoyed by the baby talk, Ji Mingju demands the guy stop treating him like a level 1 scrub. Taking the hint, the man switches up his narration style. Getting serious, the professor details that these bizarre anomalies do not camp in city centers, but actually spawn inside the belly of a massive sea boss. Apparently, the hitbox of that creature is so ridiculously huge that it literally hosts an entire dimension in its guts. This weird zone features massive cities, flex-worthy castles, and the actual royalty of these hidden entities. Tired of hearing about the housing market, the kid cuts the man off, wanting to know what these mobs can actually do. The professor then explains that these players unlock their powers at a certain level by getting a spellbook that tracks hidden domains. Inside these instances, fragments of energy are stashed, and whoever manages to beat them gets to equip that power for their own loadout. Super invested in the lore, the kid tries to figure out how these fragments actually translate to real-world DPS. The visitor explains these items are stored in the book and are ranked in 4 power tiers, ranging from common all the way up to divine. The divine tier is the most broken of all, holding ultra, rare drops originating from old school gods like Zeus and Hades. Right then, the prisoner asks about the tier sitting right below that one. The instructor brings up examples like the Titanic and Santa Claus to explain the epic tier, claiming the most lethal players today rock this loadout. He goes on to swear that if a player ever got their hands on a mythic shard, they could wipe a whole country off the server with zero sweat. Just then, the system confirms a massive boost in world exploration, letting the kid know the lore dump is 100% legit. Waving his arms to make a point, the inmate trolls the guy, claiming those players seem way more high risk than he is. Letting out a heavy sigh, the man highlights the massive gap between deleting a country and having the potential to permanently wipe the entire planet. Checking his current rank, the MC realizes he drew the short straw of being the ultimate endgame disaster in the storyline. Changing the topic, the professor asks him to understand that the guild's only goal here is to act as support. Chilling on the bed, the young guy drops a bait question to figure out who actually runs that secret faction. Going full serious mode, the visitor states that detail has to stay totally encrypted for now. Cutting the fluff, Ji Mingju asks if they are part of the guild that hunts the anomaly users. Turning his back, the professor shoots down the theory, swearing their job is way more noble and hardcore than any of those mainstream factions. Noticing the block, the MC figures trying to brute force the guild's name is not going to work. Trying to cool the aggro, the instructor suggests they switch tabs and chat about the exorcist class. But the comms ping that another inmate ranked as a catastrophe level threat just requested the man's presence ASAP. The kid is shook by how many insanely overpowered entities are locked up in the base, and is super bummed he missed his chance to datum in the exorcists. Packing up his gear, the visitor announces he has to go fix this bug immediately, but promises he will finish the podcast later. Alone again, the MC figures his theory, crafting finally paid off. Through the system, he realizes that studying the exorcist class boosted his RNG chances of pulling a truly top-tier fighter. Ready to roll, the kid spends his points and logs into the cyber hub to spin the magic gacha wheel the UI handed him. The system demands he call which side will land, and the guy picks number 6 with absolute confidence. With RNGs on his side, the dice lands exactly on his call, granting him a bonus character slot as a reward. The virtual interface lights up like crazy, demanding he pick one of 3 pre-rolled skins to log into the outside world. The first panel shows a girl thirsty for payback, but she is rocking some pretty mid-base stats. Checking her edgy backstory, the boy instantly trashes the option, thinking it is way too weird to play as a girl loaded with tragic past trauma. Right after, panel number 2 displays an anomaly user, but the starter stats are way too garbage to be useful. In the exact next second, a massive hazard warning flashes on the screen, completely scaring the MC. The system flashes intense red alerts, signaling that the next move carries a maximum level threat. The prompt warns that splitting his CPU into 3 avatars at once is going to cause insane mental debuffs and a serious sanity leak. Ignoring the warning, the guy laughs off the pain, swearing he will pull whatever crazy strat it takes to get his main body out of that prison alive. Fueled by absolute determination, his eyes light up with silent gamer rage. Floating in the endless cyber void, he gears up to tank the worst debuff of his life, just to unlock his freedom. Hyped up, the boy checks the final option, praying the stats are not complete trash. The shock hits when the system reveals a premium fighter from the Exorcist faction, the exact class he has the least intel on so far. The data packets merge, displaying the hardcore stats of option number 3. The bio shows a guy named Xia Pingzhou, boasting solid specs and rocking a super creepy pact with a demon. Checking out the holographic render, the MC is incredibly curious about this fresh roll skill set. The flaming magic scroll confirms the lethal demonic contract this fighter locked in back in the day. Happy with the lore drop, the kid locks in that character to act as his brand, new physical alt in the game world. From the available questlines, he picks the Wild Hunt campaign simply because the title sounded way more hardcore. The UI starts spawning the man straight into the earthly server to kick off the newest raid. The drop zone alert confirms his spawn point will be the massive metropolis of Tokyo. The countdown hits 0, revealing the sunrise behind the giant concrete skyscrapers in Japan. Standing with his back to the scenery, the mystery dude stares at the glowing tower in the downtown hub. At that minute, the system starts forcefully injecting the new form's backstory straight into the player's brain. Holding his face, he groans as the same brutal lag spike of pain floods his thoughts all at once. The lore reveals Xia Pingzhou went lone wolf after watching his own squad get wiped by a toxic teammate. The mental damage got worse when his relatives were taken out in a brutal massacre, turning the grind for revenge into his only daily quest. His tracking showed a super hardcore outlaw guild was involved, pushing the guy to set up a meetup with the clan leader. Now fully in control, the MC smirks like a villain, hyped that he just scored another flawless storyline fueled by salt and absolute carnage. Walking down the street, he checks the patch notes on his new magic loadout, which is centered around a supernatural board game. The kit features 4 chess pieces that can summon physical mobs that follow his commands on the spot. The system explains these fighters brawl by literally merging monsters into their own HP bars through a deadly contract. Luckily for the kid, this new persona's vibe registered an incredibly rare and violent DPS level back in the day. Checking his arms, he realizes this pure damage build perfectly covers the weak points of his second character. Eager to test his max output, he pulls up the floating menu to check out the new magic skill tree. The menu shows deep and diverse branches, proving this avatar's scaling potential is absolutely massive. Walking over the city's power boxes, the guy thinks it is a genius strat to run a build purely focused on demonic summons. Suddenly, the comms device on his gear pings, signaling a high-priority incoming message. The screen drops the exact coordinates of an underground bar, proving the bad guys actually accepted the invite. Flashing a lethal glare, the revenge-driven dude realizes he will finally get visual confirmation on the bosses who wiped out this avatar's entire lobby. Looking at the clear morning skybox, he tells himself it is officially time to kick off the blood hunt. Parked outside the tavern, Xia Pingzhou finds it super weird that these NPCs are still chugging drinks and partying loud right at the server reset. Scanning his quest marker, he knows the members of the White Crow gang are camped inside that instanced zone. Grabbing the door handle, the MC prays he does not get one shot immediately, which would just rubber band him right back to his present cell. Without wasting a single frame, the revenge-fueled guy turns the handle on the wooden door. However, the guy gets an instant jump scare from the scene waiting in the next room. The doorway reveals a classy older lady rocking a traditional crimson kimono. Staring at the unverified NPC, Xia Pingzhou scans the dimly lit hallway. Keeping a sharp look, the mystery woman just watches the newcomer in dead silence. Then, the MC drops his intro, claiming to be the fresh recruit the gang summoned. Putting on a chill vibe, the lady politely asks if the new guy is actually an expected guest. Stepping into the room, she mentions the boss was curious about his stats and ordered a trial for the guy filling the empty slot number 12. Chilling in a comfy chair, a blonde dude named Anlun suggests everyone drop their intros and claims he is piece number 11 in the faction. From the dark corner, Robert introduces himself as Slot 7 and tells the rookie to just call him Radish Heed. On the flip side, the kimono lady stays entirely on mute, refusing to leak her actual gamer tag. Suddenly, she unleashes a crazy violent crimson magic that lights up the entire room. The energy rips through the air, wielding casino chips with insane DPS potential. Waving her arms, the girl rapid fires the cards like homing blades locked on for the kill. Keeping his cool, Xia Pingzhou reads her power level and insists he just spawned in to fill the open party slot. Jumping out of his seat, and Luntz announces it is time for the whole squad to start the grind. Tossing his cards on the table, the blonde guy points out the gang still needs to clear a side quest on their way out. Heading for the exit, he explains the boss's order is to wipe out every single NPC in the bar so they do not cause lag during the $1 million heist next week. Piecing it together, the MC figures the entry exam is literally just a squad wipe on everyone in the room, spawning a floating slot machine, and Luntz promises the massacre is just a quick warm-up. Staring at the weird metal gadget, the revenge guy tries to guess what kind of debuff this wacky power drops. Pulling the machine's lever, the buddy says to chill and trust RNG to save the team's stamina. The cylinders spin like crazy until they lock onto 3 red nuke icons. Checking the roll, Enlund smiles and admits he just pulled an ultimate that is going to cause a massive Michael Bay explosion. Right then, Robert pops his magic and yells at the rookie to bail out of the zone immediately. Blown away, Xia Pingzhou notices Head has a rare teleportation skill. Stepping through a pixelated rift, the squad warns the entire tavern is going to get deleted if they do not fast travel right this second. Yanking the new recruit by the shoulder, and Luntz hypes up that their drop zone is a way cooler map. Totally lost, Xia Pingzhou brings up the original strat and asks if the plan was not to take out everyone in the bar first. Laughing at the question, the blonde teammate flips it back, asking what exactly the guy thinks he means by that, spawning at the top of a building way far off. Unlunce casually confirms that every single player back there has already been logged out permanently. Miles away, the tiny cyber gadget floats silently outside the tavern's window. Suddenly, the machine starts glowing, radiating an insanely overpowered golden magic aura. The steel build completely fragments in the air, scattering gears everywhere. The pieces snap together at lightning speed, rendering a massive missile aimed dead at the target building. Watching the event from blocks away, the MC finally understands how that absolute nuke of a power works. A colossal boom blankets the entire structure, confirming 0 players survived the surprise gank. The shockwave sweeps the street, reducing the whole block to debris in a literal inferno. Ice cold amidst the chaos, the revenge guy just asks what the squad's next cued action is. Standing in front of an abandoned office building, he wonders why they traveled to such an empty server. And Luntz calmly explains they are at an old corporate tower located in the Minato district. According to the lore, the devs shut the zone down after a bunch of workers got permanently disconnected from extreme burnout caused by insane grinding. Sensing a super toxic corporate vibe in the area, Xia Pingzhou wants to know what the actual objective of this weird trial is. Flashing a confident smirk, and Luntz guarantees that clearing this type of dungeon is the Exorcist Guild's specialty. Stunned, the MC locks eyes on a shadowy mob spawning right behind the blonde guy. The veteran teammate explains the trio is just going to spectate from a safe zone, while the entity violently tests the noob's combat rating. Flashing a hand sign, he warns that if the majority of the squad downvotes his gameplay, his clan application is instantly rejected. Piling on the stress, the blonde guy promises they will straight up unalive the kid right then, and there without skipping a frame. Faced with the threat, the revenge dude realizes his first mini-boss has finally rendered in. The game engine locks his objective to surviving the gang's DPS check, proving without a doubt that throwing hands is his only option. Cracking his neck with hype, Xia Pingzhou accepts the duel and gets ready for the unavoidable boss fight. Twitching with gross, glitchy animations, the massive cursed energy cries out, begging for a break from the grind. The energy blob morphs into a bulky beast rocking 3 skulls, dual-wielding office gear like a coffee mug and a keyboard, screaming for better KPI results. Standing perfectly still in the empty room, the MC locks his camera on the weird corporate mutant prepping its attack. And Luntz mentions the demons spawned from the pure salt of all the wage, slaves who drop dead grinding in this building. But the kimono lady calls out the fake lore, and the blonde buddy admits he just made up that tragic backstory because it sounded epic. Sweeting a bit, the guy taking the test thinks the mob has 0 scare factor, only radiating extreme depression. Inspecting the freak, the MC thinks it is super depressing that a corporate drone worked to death only to respawn as a training dummy for other players. Casting his signature skill, he spawns a glowing game piece hovering right over his palm. The beast charges in with max rage, trying to smash the guy with a massive keyboard while screaming for a pay raise. Gripping the glowing token, the revenge dude taps into the avatar's memory cache to figure out how this spell actually works in PvP. Mid-dash, the entity hurls its improvised weapon with insane knockback force right at the stationary target. The heavy impact kicks up a massive dust cloud, scattering debris all over the giant empty room. A split second after the brutal hit, the 3-headed mob completely freezes in pure confusion. Chuckling calmly, Xia Pingzhou tanks the heavy hit without getting pushed back a single inch. The enchanted item takes the form of a badass phantom king that projects a totally bulletproof shield around its summoner. Watching from the sidelines, Luntz flashes a satisfied smile and hypes up the rookie's insane defense stats. Standing straight, the traditional outfit lady admits she has never seen a buff like that in any of her past runs. The guy dubbed Radish head nods, agreeing the power has some super unique mechanics, totally validating the boss's interest in him. Salty that his attack got blocked, the demon raises its arms again and goes back to screaming about unpaid overtime. The mutant spams a crazy combo of attacks, desperate to shatter the energy shield at all costs. Taking 0 damage in the ow, the MC just sighs, showing how completely useless the enemy's DPS is. Spectating the god-tier defense from afar, and Luntz praises the play and acknowledges the rookie's massive skill ceiling. Absolutely tilted, the corporate mob keeps screaming for overtime pay while punching the invisible wall. Hoisting up a giant stamp item, the scary mob gets ready to cast another heavy strike. The crushing blow drops, slicing the air aimed dead center at Xia Pingzhou's hitbox. Locked onto the target, the MC realizes keeping his main piece alive is top priority, so he instantly summons a standard pawn. A heavy shadow vibe spawns the new unit right onto the battlefield to tank for its leader. The piece looks super intimidating, wielding a massive sword and rocking shadow infused heavy armor. Screaming non-stop, the monster pushes its rush attack, but the Dark Fighter easily parries the heavy blow using its giant warblade. Upon impact, a shockwave sweeps the room while both units flex their DPSs in the center of the arena. The mutant desperately spams its aggro, while the Shadow Fighter keeps the defensive line completely unbreached. The clash between both powers triggers heavy screen shake, wrecking the floor right around them. Studying the damage trade, Xia Pingzhou confirms that the combat AI of his basic minion is insanely high. Using the extra space, he summons a defense piece that morphs into a floating artillery turret ready to blast. Without hesitating, the turret fires a glowing, lethal laser straight at the enemy mob's coordinates. The death beam completely melts the freak, giving it zero chance to dodge or survive. The blast's flash bangs the whole room, while the revenge guy just chills and admires the new crater. Taking massive damage from the clash, the demon staggers around leaking mist and groaning in low HP agony. Figuring the warm-up has dragged on long enough, the MC grabs another glowing statue and decides to speedrun the end of this fight. The magic summons a badass enchanted queen, armed with a fancy spear and already in full combat stance. In a flash, the fighter dashes forward at breakneck speed, straight toward the debuffed enemy. Panicking, the evil mob queues up a heavy attack, screaming about performance reviews. But the magic queen styles on the attack, spinning her weapon with crazy high agility. The monster keeps trying to land a hit, roaring about having to work double shifts. Showing off frame-perfect counters, the warrior rushes the target with a lightning-fast, heavy strike. The sharp weapon pierces the dark entity's hitbox over and over, completely shredding the freak with zero mercy. Overwhelmed by the lethal combo, the mutant dissolves into the air, leaving no loot drops and logging out permanently. Analyzing the post-match results, Xia Pingzhou finds it weird that his highest-tier summon acts like a glass cannon built for burst damage. Taking a deep breath, he turns his camera to the squad members and asks if he finally meets the stat requirements for the party slot. And Luntz gives a thumbs up, thinking the magic show was epic, and instantly gets backed up by the squad's assassin. Robert mutters his salty review, calling the rookie sluggish and predicting he will get wiped soon, but ultimately votes yes on the application. The half-human dude warns that they still have the admin right to just deny the guild invite, finding the whole situation hilarious, and Luntz jokes that a ban would mean an instant game over for the rookie. The female partner nods, stating the guildmaster gave them the green light to initiate open PvP, right there if his stats were trash. Sweating cold drops, the MC notes how completely unhinged this team is, praying he never has to try hard against these guys without prep. Laughing hard at the scene, and Luntz tells the team to stop griefing the rookie and makes his guild membership official. Switching gears, the stealthy assassin holds out her hands and announces the boss sent a premium cosmetic just for him. Caught off guard by the loot drop, the guy asks what exact type of item just entered his inventory. Gliding smoothly, the figure opposite him channels a magic aura, stamping the gifted item. A massive badass dark bird randomly spawns from thin air and latches onto the guy's arm, radiating pure aggro. Showing off her own skin tattoo, the girl explains it functions as the clan badge and tells him to pick a spot on his model to equip it. Suggesting the back of his hand, the guy watches the feathered mob melt and sink straight into his actual character model. The magic stamp flashes a bright yellow beam as it permanently binds to the faction's newest member. Welcoming the new slot 12 player, and Luntz tells him to stay sharp, hinting that the rest of the guild's player base has way less patience. The MC just nods without using voice chat, swallowing the heavy warning. Deep in his own theory crafting, he bets the targeted heist will go down smoothly and decides to play the obedient NPC role, keeping a super low profile to avoid drawing aggro. Checking the clock UI, and Luntz suggests the trio hit up a food vendor on their route to refill their stamina bars right before the raid officially starts. Hyped for the idea, the teammate admits her hunger meter is currently flashing red and suggests they take the portal she already dropped next to a restaurant. Noticing the rookie zoning out, the veteran player leans in, trying to figure out what the kid has been staring at in complete silence for so long. Robert rushes the party to step through the glowing portal entrance, and the whole squad lines up to walk through the shiny rift the teammate spawned. Walking in slow-mo along the route, Xia Pingzhou is completely hyper, focused on the weird progression UI his new avatar just unlocked. The panel states that farming those weird mobs will drop massive buff rewards that can instantly break his current level caps. Loving this simple grind strategy, the MC figures farming these mobs will be a breeze, all thanks to the crazy aggro levels of his new squad mates. The Cyber Hades shows the base stats of that organic group in real time, confirming just how insanely high his fake persona's level cap really is. Staring at this abstract skill tree, he realizes leveling this bill will be a smooth ride if he maxes his speed and psychic energy, since this squishy body is definitely not built to tank melee hits while grinding mobs. Suddenly, without any early warning ping on his radar, his character model freezes up in pure shock as he picks up footstep audio spawning right behind him in the dark, empty corporate map. Whipping his camera over his shoulder in full defensive mode to check his 6, he accidentally triggers Anlunz to start asking what random glitch is happening behind them. A voice belonging to a female NPC drops a line, claiming her squad spawned into the zone to track and clear out the confirmed dark demonic mobs camping in the abandoned building. Projecting a totally chill, zero panic vibe, the random female arrival breaks the awkwardness by noting that some unknown player already speedrun the boss clear for them, saving her team a ton of grinding. Standing right next to her party members, Suzume starts asking if this sketchy group of outlaws is somehow linked to the top guild that hunts down those nightmare mobs in the region. Hit by a massive stun debuff from this insane plot twist, the newly recruited teammate spots his actual little sister standing right next to the mentor, staring in total shock at the cursed map that was just swarming with monsters. Scanning the uninvited female players who just walked into their instance, Robert points out the obvious fact that this dead building just got crashed by some uninvited guests right as they were heading for the exit. Keeping her mental shields up and rocking a pure PK vibe, the guild's assassin skips the small talk and asks if she should just attack the duo who crashed their private lobby. Shrugging it off like it is no big deal, Enlunz greenlights the absolute massacre, complaining about how annoying it is that these randoms actually saw the real character models of the stealthy crime syndicate. Paralyzed by the intense stress of the standoff, the MC flashes back to the fact that his main account actually had a direct encounter with that squad leader, Kikurui, in a previous messy cutscene. He carries a huge chunk of lore knowing this veteran commander is super famous in the Hunter Guild, and his gamer instincts tell him that triggering a PvP fight here, without any mods, will end in an absolute total party wipe. Sweating buckets thanks to the insane stress levels spiking in his teen avatar, the guy instantly realizes that if his little sister's HP drops to 0, his main account's primary questline will be completely bricked. Standing uncomfortably close to these toxic outlaws, he theory crafts that he urgently needs to pull off a 200 IQ play to give those two girls a safe escape route before his bloodthirsty squadmates get too suspicious. Totally starving for some PvP action and thirsty for a player kill, the faction's assassin barks out the attack order, demanding they start dropping HP bars immediately without skipping any frames or letting random NPCs interrupt the raid in this sketchy dead tower. Wrapped in a crimson magic aura, she dashes down the hall, dying to speedrun this encounter so she can finally grab some loot. Reading the enemy's attack pattern, the mentor body blocks for her student and braces to tank the heavy hit. Reacting with crazy speed, Shipingjo body checks his teammate and asks if the squad actually checks the leaderboards to see who they are messing with. Triggered by Kikuru's high-tier armor, Enlunz remembers the guild master actually tried to recruit this veteran tank before. Hiding his massive relief, the revenge dude asks what she said, only to hear she hard rejected the invite. The buddy explains the female player decided to start her own clan backed by that train-shaped summon she signed a pact with. Hitting the brakes hard, the partner loses her patience with the side chatter and demands to know if she is cleared to initiate combat. Getting back to business, the boss's robotic voice comes through the comms telling them to drop the aggro. The leader guarantees that launching a guild war here would just tank everyone's stats. Backing the call instantly, Enlunz tells the squad to log out and go get food. Behind them, Suzume mumbles something glitchy, totally stunned by the sudden disconnect. Acting like a try-hard, Shipingjo throws out that he would love to test his DPS against that opponent, just trying to pull his team's aggro away. But Enlunz mutes the noob, stating a PvP match right now would cause a massive server lag. The veteran tells him to zip it so they don't tilt the guild master. Swallowing the command, the MC nods, while his buddy brings up the high-tier auction raid next week. In his head, the kid confirms that is the official launch date for the mission. With a magic portal wide open, the squad preps to jump. Enlunz explains the raid leader usually drops the detailed strategy guide just 5 minutes before the event kicks off. Right before vanishing into the energy rift, the kimono lady announces her carry service is officially over. The MC watches the squad log out without breaking a sweat. Curious, the rookie asks if their gameplay is always this casual. The blonde buddy guarantees anyone who doesn't adapt to this meta would have wiped multiple times in the guild's raids. Playing solo again, the justice-driven guy stresses over his sister in the Tokyo map. He is terrified he won't be able to carry her if she decides to crash the hardcore auction event. Far away from the squad, Kikyun lights a smoke to buffer the latest cutscene. The lighter's click cuts right through the heavy silence of the empty hallway. The mentor finds it super weird that the enemy squad just randomly rage quit. Intrigue, Suzume asks what server those super lethal players even transferred from. Blowing smoke, the leader explains the girl in traditional gear used to be the heir to a top-tier Japanese clan before dropping everything to join that terrifying crime syndicate. Completely shook, the little sister realizes those outlaws were one click away from wiping them out just seconds ago. The leader confirms the theory, admitting the enemy's power scaling is off the charts. Rocking a serious poker face, Kikyun concludes the specialist squad's panic was totally justified. Facing the upcoming boss threat, she wonders if there is still time to cancel the quest. Horrified by the lore drop, Suzimai gulps and grills her partner. The girl demands to know if they really have to stick to the escort mission for the event. Flashing a sarcastic smirk, the teacher admits it would sting to drop the raid now. She decides to report the bug to the admins so they can buff the auction's defense stats AP. Sighing, she roasts the local server's power level, claiming the Japanese demon hunters are totally nerfed and not worth calling for backup. Lost in thought, Suzimai agrees with her teacher's tier list. However, the kid points out the devs could just summon OP carries from the neighboring servers. Adjusting her glasses, Kikyun drops a secretive smile thinking about the available summons. She agrees with her student and decides to drop a top-tier recommendation. The massive city tower sets the stage for the teacher's pick. Cutting the fluff, she names the vigilant Blue Bow as the absolute best meta choice. Later that night, the neon sign of a ramen joint glows on a crowded server street. Handing over a note, the kimono lady gives the rookie the Discord tags of the remaining squad members, so he can add them later. Happy, and Luntz calls GG on the meetup right there and tells the squad to disband. The blonde guy gives a hyped salute as he walks off with the team. Holding the note, Xia Pingzhou theory crafts that the crime syndicate has the stats to pull aggro from the rival guild, Green Wings. He plans to datamine their intel to trade with his hero relative. Shoving his hams in his pockets, the MC walks down a dark alley. He decides to find a random inn to park his alt account for the time being. Deep into the night cycle, the front of a low-tier apartment building catches the glow from the streetlights. Chilling in his bed, the guy boots up the game's AG to check his options. The system displays the magic skill trees available for that character model. Scanning the buffs, he instantly figures the main path has the best utility. Without hesitating, the revenge guy spends a token to unlock the ability to summon extra minion units. Instantly, the system pings that the support magic is leveled up. The panel shows his max unit cap just got buffed to 2 summons. Getting comfy and putting his hands behind his head, Xia Pingzhou celebrates the new upgrade. With 2 extra fighters on standby, he admits he feels like a heavily armored raid boss. Opening the screen again, the MC checks the massive loot drops for the event quest. He gets jump, scared by the promised XP and figures surviving that raid is going to be incredibly sweaty. Squinting, he locks onto a side quest targeting an NPC named Jack. Right after, the menu drops the lore for the third main objective. Flashbacks take over his screen, showing the exact cutscene where his guildmate totally lost it. The partner morphed into a brutal mob and completely wrecked the rest of the squad without an ounce of mercy. The replay shows the toxic player leaving behind a blood-red magic tag on the floor. That creepy spray was always linked to the guild named Salvation Society. Sitting in the dark, the guy thinks that a legal group is super sketchy. With no active quests on his tracker, he decides to leave this alt AFK until the gang sends a party invite. Relying on his exorcist alt's tankiness, the kid plans to use the other account to infiltrate his old shelter and beat the truth out of the admin. Right then, the server hop starts and a sky blue magic eye renders on the main display. Miles away, Gu Wenyu respawns in his own room just as the game confirms the little sister's quest is cleared. The UI updates the objective, demanding he form a party with the exorcist hub. Sitting up in bed, the guy thinks it is awesome that grinding on one alt actually completes achievements for the other. He admits he was planning to track the girl manually, but the RNG gods gave him a massive boost. Focusing his build on pure mobility, he dumps all his fresh stat points into agility. Besides that, the kid decides to spend his currency to unlock the CC spell using torn bandages. The UI explains the spell lets him temporarily steal the skills of anyone trapped in the wraps. Super hyped, the MC heavily regrets not unlocking this OP magic way earlier in his run. Right after the screen flags that crafting a third alt will cost a whopping 9 division tokens. Shocked by the insane paywall, he jokes that the AI is probably worried he is going to develop multiple personality glitches. Suddenly, a mini-map pops up showing that dynamic events in the Lijing server are live. The system drops a waypoint, telling the player head to the marker to trigger a tactical mission. Resting his chin on his hand, the guy thinks it is epic how quests just spawn all over the world map. He flashes a hyped smile, realizing his new life perfectly clones the mechanics of his favorite video games. But, as he zooms in to inspect the zone, Gu Wenyu's IRL face completely drops. Overwhelmed by pure silent rage, he recognizes the coordinates and realizes exactly where the game is telling him to go. The building's front facade, bathed in the starry night skybox, matches the exact coordinates pinned in the game. The shot caller confirms the structure proves the next chapter takes place right at his old lore hub. Walking down the dark stairwell ramps, he remembers this book-filled zone acting like a magical safe room back in his noob days. But, in a super ironic twist, It was right around those edges that the sketchy facility sat heavily guarded, locked down tight to keep nosy players out of the dark secrets and scams they pulled on the kids. Focusing hard on the heavy metal plates locked in his memory cache, he pulls up the exact cutscene where the local admin caught his avatar in a restricted zone. The guy slapped a ban on him, feeding him some bogus lore that the empty basement had no actual in-game use and was just an old weapons bunker left to rot. Done with the old lies, Guanyu holds his face as a terrifying theory renders in his brain. Sweating cold, he questions a super dark and creepy possibility while the late night hours tick by. Standing frozen in the dark, the young guy's eyes go wide, hit by a massive plot twist. He concludes that the sadistic research lab was hiding in the orphanage's basement server this entire time.